Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarland. I'm your host, Al McFarland. So instead of presenting you a live program today, I'm sharing with you one of my favorite episodes, a show that shows you how we've molded the show that you've come to know and love. And while you're enjoying this show, I'm going to be working with my team to make the program even more informative, more insightful, and even more inspiring. And if you haven't already, I'd like you to show your support for the conversation with Al McFarland by subscribing to the Insight News YouTube channel. This way you'll get alerted about and never miss new episodes, show clips, and special features only available on the Insight News channel. And you can find us on YouTube at Insight News MN. To make it easier, I've got a link in the description on this video. Well, thank you again for all your support this year. I can't wait for you to see all that we are preparing for 2023. Now, my friend, sit back and enjoy this conversation with Al McFarland. I'm Al McFarland. Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarland. Today is Monday, August 8th, 2022. My wife, Bobby, and I just voted a few minutes ago, and I tell you, it's satisfying to do. And because we just voted, and because the election that's happening now through tomorrow, the primary is so critical, we want to spend the first few minutes of today's program talking with candidates. An election that probably is under reported, but really is as important or more important than all the other positions on the ballot. I'm talking about the school board. So I've got three candidates for the Minneapolis School Board with me for the first few minutes of today's program. And I've invited them to kind of rally you, to wind up the voters about your duty, your opportunity, and your commitment to making sure our voices are heard in the direction of education, of schooling for children and their families in the city of Minneapolis. Kerry Jo Freeman is here, Lori Norvell is here, and Collin Beachy is here. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start with you, Kerry. I want to ask each of you to sort of give the value proposition, introduce yourself, and say why you're running for a school board and what has not happened properly, or if everything has been great, say that, what you want to do to change things to make schooling, education better for our city, for our people. Kerry Jo.
Okay, hi guys, everyone. My name is Kerry Jo Freeman, and I'm running for school board at large in Minneapolis because I care about our kids and I care about the education that they are receiving, and I don't believe that they are receiving the best education that they can be receiving at this moment. We had a vote with the comprehensive district design, and that has really impacted a lot of children, not everyone's children, but a lot of children across the city. But this could be a really long, I could do this for a long time. Mr. McFarlane, I was just wondering if I could just pass this question to Lori first.
Sure.
I know that she has to step away, so I was just hoping I could slide that one.
Lori, jump in.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Lori Norvell, and I'm running for District 5 seat for school board. I'm a recent Minneapolis public school teacher where I taught middle school math for almost 8 years, and I've got 3 kids who are either graduates or current MPS students. I'm running for school board because I want to make sure that we have quality public education for all of our kids, no matter where they live, no matter what they look like, or how much money their family makes. And I feel like that's been lost on a lot of our students. And so we need to come together as a community. We've got to work together collaboratively with the district, with our unions, with our educators to make sure that we are making student-centered decisions, that we are uplifting our educators and their voices, because they're the ones in the classroom, in the schools every single day. I've been there and I've done that. And it is a really, really hard job. And we need to make sure that we're valuing that work that they're doing.
What can we do to get voters, residents to, weigh in more heavily and to reflect the value that the educational apparatus should mean to us? What do you think, Lori?
Well, one thing that we need to talk about is the importance of quality public education for all of our community members. I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't have kids, or my kids are out of school. Why should I care? Quality public schools, that's the cornerstone of our community. And we've got to make sure that we have free quality public education for all children. And by doing that, then we have families who want to move to Minneapolis. They want to choose Minneapolis public schools. That then makes our communities thrive. I'm not a native Minneapolis resident. I've lived here for 10 years. And when my family and I when we decided to move here, we chose Minneapolis, and we chose Minneapolis public schools. I want more families to do that. And so to do that, we've got to have more stability with our schools. That includes with our staffing decisions that we're making, with our curriculum, with all of these decisions we're making, like Kerry Jo mentioned, the comprehensive district design. Out talking with families, that comes up 9 times out of 10. It has impacted so many families, and mostly in a negative way.
Mm-hmm. I know you got to go. Last question for you. Where'd you come from, and what do you do for a living right now? What's your professional work experience, and what qualifies you as you talking to voters to be elected to that seat you're seeking?
So my family and I moved here from New Orleans. We are originally from West Virginia. So I've taught in various states. I've taught in West Virginia, upstate New York, Virginia, New Orleans, and here. I've been an educator for over 20 years. And so, as I said, we moved here 10 years ago. And I think what qualifies me for this is that educator lens, having had that experience, having taught during the pandemic. I'm one of those teachers who left mid-year this past year. It was not an easy decision, but I chose to resign because I was burned out. And it was a really, really tough decision. I miss the students terribly, but it was what I needed to do for me and my family. And I don't want us to lose more educators. We're losing so many really great educators to other districts or other professions. Currently, I am working at Hennepin Theater Trust, where I work as an executive assistant, and I'm also starting to do some management training and equity and diversity work with our organization.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a candidate. If people want to connect and support your candidacy or vote for you, how do they find you?
So I have a website, and it's norvell4schoolboard.com, and that's with the number 4. So Norvell, the number 4, schoolboard.com. You can also find me by searching any of those on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter.
Thank you so much. Stick around as long as you can, but I know you have to leave. Collin, good afternoon. Good to see you. Welcome to the conversation. Same questions. Introduce yourself and what the agenda is, what the passion is for you in wanting to serve the district and its families.
Sure. Yeah. So I am Collin Beachy. I'm a native Minnesotan. I'm not a native Minneapolis resident. I grew up in central Minnesota, and one of the biggest reasons why I'm running for public schools, you mentioned it, but you used the word passion, and I'm very passionate about public education. There's nothing else I've wanted to do besides be a teacher. I think, like I tell people, there was a little stint where I might have wanted to be an astronaut, but for the most part, I wanted to be a teacher. My dad was a teacher for 30 some years. And so some of the reasons that I'm running, I just really have to echo a lot of what Lori had to say. And I think this is one reason why the 3 of us are here together. We are already kind of working as a slate. We are sharing some information, but we share these similar visions and these similar passions about what's going on here in the school district. And that comprehensive district design, as Lori is correct, that comes up all the time for what is happening here. And the extension of that just seems to be that a lot of parents are feeling like that they just really weren't listened to. A lot of teachers are feeling like they just haven't been respected. And I think that the perspective that Lori and I both have from being teachers, Lori's a former teacher. I didn't mention right now, I'm still a teacher right now. So we understand directly what is going on right in the classroom. And we are the ones who are hearing from our students what it is that they need. And so the things that we're doing at my school at Transition Plus, we're doing a lot of project-based learning. type things. We are getting the students directly involved, so there's not really so much with the testing scores and those things are necessary, but there are different ways that you can get to those same results without having to follow some of these tests. And so we just with everything that happened, with the strike, with the CDD, I just think one of the biggest things that we have to do is start restoring some trust with our communities. And I think that one of the first ways that we can do that is by start taking care of the people who are already here. Mm-hmm. And once we start taking care of people who are already here, they're going to be our best advertisers. They're going to let people know that we've got a school board and a school district that is starting to listen to your concerns, starting to be more responsive to the needs of our students and for our families. So those are part of the reasons why I'm running. There are certainly a lot more. I have a long-term vision for things. One thing about it, I am a teacher right now. I'm a special education teacher at Transition Plus in South Minneapolis. And one thing about being a teacher is we can do this quite a bit. We can sit and chat and talk and really try and explain a whole bunch of things. So I really don't want to take too much time with everybody right now. I do have a website as well, and mine is Beachy, Beachy, just like beach with a Y, number 4, school board at .com. And there are a lot of issues that are on there. We're going to see what happens tomorrow. We're going to be making sure we're updating my website so you have a fuller understanding of what some of my positions are. But again, I just feel real strongly that there's a different way that we can do things. It's a top-heavy district right now, one-size-fits-all models. We can really start moving back into that community schools and neighborhood schools model. And we need to do that by listening to our parents and being a little bit more responsive to our teachers.
Kerry, come back to you to wrap this segment up. And you've got experience as a board member. You formerly were on the board, you're off, now you're seeking to get back on. Talk about your experience, both as a board member, but you're also a labor person. You work in labor and you kind of represent, I think, labor's interest. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm a Teamster. Teamster 120, and I work at the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, and I'm a lead organizer for a group called POCUM, People of Color and Union Members, and we're just a group of people of color who come from different unions together to do different things in the community or for other people in the union. But I just want to say that I think that coming back into the school board is really important right now. I was one of the people who voted no. I think that's very important to note because I knew that it wasn't going to be a positive change for Minneapolis. It wasn't going to be, a positive change for our children, our educators, everybody who's involved.
You voted no to what, Kerry?
The comprehensive district design. Okay. I saw that Dee had put that down, explaining what it is. And the comprehensive district design is a plan that was brought forward by Jim S. Staples, who's a really bright and talented young man in the North Minneapolis area. And it was turned down from the district. We really tried to get it in there. And then I brought it forward again, and it was only supposed to be for one school. It was only supposed to be for North High School. And so I don't know if it was some of the board members or the superintendent or a mixture of it, but they tore it apart and they decided to put it all around the district instead of keeping it in one place. Mm-hmm. And so that it just tore it apart and equity wasn't shown. And I think it just not only tore the program apart, but it tore our city apart. And so I voted no for that because I could kind of see what it was doing. I could see the boundaries, and the parents weren't heard. They just went forward and voted for it. And so, I like our values. I like that we all are into hearing our parents, into and making sure that they are part of any plan that we have. If we're going to do policies, or a part of the policies that we have, our students, having our students' voices. I mean, students are student-centered, and I think that that's going to make the change for Minneapolis Public Schools going forward. And so I'm very, very excited this time to be running for the school board, which is a lot different from the last time I ran. Just the focus that this group of people have on the students, the schools, the district itself, and the talents that they bring is amazing.
Kerry, I'm going to close this out by asking you to sort of rally the voters, invite people to exercise their power by voting today still, or tomorrow, certainly election day.
Right, you guys, I just want you to say to come on out and vote. I think that if everybody were to vote for the people on my slate, I know that we have two Somali who have already won because they weren't going up against anyone. That would be Abdul Abdi in 1 and Fatia Fiara in 3. And so then if the 3 of us also win, that for the first time, I think in history, that would be 1 Caucasian. Lori is awesome. I mean, she understands, and I don't know if it's coming from the South but she really understands, letting people have space to deal, to make their own thing, and then getting behind and supporting it, right? Like not saying, oh, I'm going to decide for you. Like, no, hey, I don't know about this. Can I support you? That's very important. I mean, because a lot of times people don't do that. And so there will be 8 brown and black people on the board and 1 Caucasian. That's a first for Minneapolis Public Schools, right? We know that we have to find a superintendent that is from Minnesota, preferably Minneapolis, because we don't have time to have him, become, get acclimated to Minneapolis. We don't have time for that. They have to know Minneapolis already. And I just think that this is going to be a bit of a change. We have people and different ethnicities on the board. And I think that what we're bringing forth and what we can bring forth is going to be much more engaging. And I think the community will very much agree. So I'm hoping that people get out to vote. This is the last day for the pre-primary, which means that this is the last day probably for no lines. There's 2 options where you can vote. And if you go to, they'll be on my Facebook pages, and I see them on Lori's and Collin's pages as well. I should update my page as well. And then tomorrow is the last day to vote. If you were planning on mailing something, it's too late for that. You have to go vote early in person today, or vote tomorrow, the last day. But exercise that right. In the pre-primary, this primary is important. Don't expect, for the person that you want to win to just be there. Your person might not make it. Mm-hmm. This is very important. We have people vying for different spots, and there's 6 people vying for at large, and only 4 are going to go forward. So your person might drop off, and so I think it's very important for everybody to get out and use your right to vote and push people forward so that they can make change.
I see my friend Teqen Zéa-Aida is here. Teqen, before I close this part out and before I transition to my next segment with my friends at Turning Point, you may have a comment or observation or advice or encouragement for people to connect as voters. Teqen, what do you think?
Well, I just, first of all, I want to say, hey, Kerry, congratulations on running again and never giving up.
Never.
And truly being someone who represents this community. I think it's of the utmost importance to piggyback on what Kerry just said, that, we've got to get out there. If you're going to believe, you got to get out there. You got to find people who actually represent from the grassroots level this community, and also who are not getting into the public school board system to destroy our public schools. That's a big one. There are a lot of people who are running for these positions who are actually getting in there to destroy the very positions, a la Trump, that they are seeking. And so, if you care, if you're rooted, if you believe in our children, get out there and vote.
Thank you, Teqen.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Kerry Jo, Collin, Lori, thank you all. Good luck tomorrow, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
McFarlane, this is the conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm going to continue to the balance of the program. Let me first of all acknowledge my partners, Diana Hawkins over at Hawthorne Neighborhood Council, and Dee Phillips, and my writing partner, Brenda Lau Gray. How are you guys doing, first of all? Good to see you all.
Hey, happy Monday, Brenda and Dee.
Good to see you guys.
You too. Good seeing you. And good seeing you in the light a second Monday in a row. Thanks, gosh. She looks good.
Let's bring in our guest for the balance of the program. Angela Reed is here. She is the new leader over at Turning Point. I think that's the right way to described you, Angela, and Patricia Carter is on her team. And they're both here to talk about a major initiative around opioid addiction and substance abuse in our community, and about our response to it. So with that, let me start by going to Angela. Angela, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Good to see you too on this lovely sunshiny day. Hopefully it's not too hot outside.
Yeah,
Pretty
well,
cool when I
it's
came in.
always good to give people a background on the legacy institution Turning Point, because somebody may be new to town or just not know. So take a minute, if you would, before you introduce Patricia and her particular initiative to talk about the value proposition and the story, the work of Turning Point.
Well, Turning Point is a chemical health treatment agency located in North Minneapolis since 1972. We're actually one of the longest running chemical health treatment centers specializing in culture specific care in the country. So it's something we are really proud of. That's part of our Minnesota legacy. We customize our services to meet the needs of African Americans in Minnesota. And so what we do is we have expanded our programming so we can provide support for up to 5 years. So someone could come through treatment, inpatient, outpatient. They can transfer on to our board and lodge titled Miss B's House. And then they can also participate in our apartment buildings where we have GRH, low income housing. We do recovery support, care coordination, training. And it's really just built on, knowing what the community needs are. So as part of that, we really wanted to, make sure we tackle this piece. And it started by a founder. And what's good is that our founder actually has lived experience with substance use disorder, and that's Dr. Peter Hayden, nationally recognized speaker, scholar, leader. And the goal is, one thing that we understand is that recovery is different than sobriety. And as being a culture specific organization in Minneapolis, we have the Community Collective as our primary focus as well, and a very large priority of what we do. So we are definitely engaged in the concerned about some of the things that have been impacted in the community, because we're also directly impacted by that. And so for this time, we're going to talk about opioids, but it's really about how everything is really winding in together, and the impact of the disparities and inequities across the board that make this the procedure we do moving forward even different than what it would have been 3 years ago.
Well,
So with that, I'll introduce Patricia, who is the manager of our Culture Specific Services Center, Miss Patricia Carter.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Good to see you again, and thank you for what you're doing, and welcome to the conversation. We have a graphic, I think, because you got a major event coming up in a couple of days, right?
Yes.
So let me put the graphic up, and you can talk about that to start with, and then we'll build out from there.
Well, we're really grateful that we have this opportunity to bring in our town hall. This is the first one. Hopefully it will not be the last, but we are presenting a town hall, Turning the Tide. And our African American community has been affected greatly by overdoses. And we know this, but we want to come together at the Capri Theater this Wednesday, the 10th, from 1 o'clock to 3:30. Anyone's welcome to come on. You can come on in person, or you can join the live stream with the link in the caption there. But we want to get together and we want to really just talk about how this is affecting our community. We have a couple of guest speakers, and we also have a Narcan presentation and just a demo of how you would administer Narcan to someone who's overdosing. And we also have Steve Rummel Hope Foundation, which is a foundation that came together because someone OD'd in their family, and the person that called 911, they left the scene, but the foundation got established because they wanted to make it open for people to call 911 and stay with the victim and make sure that that person doesn't die alone. So we want to invite everybody to come on out to this event because we're concerned about our community. our brothers and sisters are OD, and I had 2 childhood friends that I grew up with in North Minneapolis. They were brother and sister, and they overdosed in February at the same time. They were at his house, and they got a hold to some bad drugs, some fentanyl, and instantly they died on the spot. So their family had a double memorial service for these 2 siblings.
Is that
And
a question of ingesting it or shooting up?
they were shooting up, yes. So a lot of our community is affected, and a lot of our parents don't know the symptoms when their young adults or teens are experimenting with opioids. So we want to give some insight on that, how to recognize when our children are experimenting with opioids, may it be Percocets, may it be oxycodone, so our parents can be aware and be assertive in making sure that our kids stay alive.
How big is the problem now? And let me, before you answer that, and Diana, you can help me out with this too, jump in. Let me say that I feel a sense of alarm. And without statistics, I wonder if statistics justify the alarm. But the alarm I feel came from just recently. I was at the drive-up window at where I bank on Broadway, and while I'm waiting for to do my transaction through the drive-up window, there's a brother, a young cat, maybe at the edge of the building, sprawled out, laid out, bent over. I've never seen that before. Just out of it, right? And it's afternoon. It's not a question of tired, maybe it's a question of alcohol. I don't know. But even if it was alcohol, I haven't seen it like that before. So it was 2 guys there, looked like they were just wiped out. And then, if not the same day, another day, driving down on a couple of days downhill on West Broadway, either between where is it? Maybe where the Cub Food bus shelter is. And that's like at Aldrich and Bryant on the downtown side of the street. And then I think a block down or so, before you turn onto Washington, and a couple of places I've driven by there and I've seen people just bent out, wiped out in the bus shelter. And is it just me seeing that? Was I lucky that day? Or is this thing becoming that apparent and that present? Diana, give me your thoughts. What are you seeing?
Now, you're absolutely right, because more and more of our younger people, they're getting on this drug now. And statistics right now are a little bit high. I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head. But as our students go back to school, as they're hanging out on the streets, this is a new thing now, is the fentanyl. And the fentanyl will kill you. So, you know what I mean? It's this is serious. So I'm glad you guys are doing this town hall meeting, Patricia, because this is really serious, because if we don't instill the right things into our youth right now about this drug, we're going to lose them in this next go round.
I agree.
I'm open to tech, and you kind of got that experience in this as well, and that's why I invited you to this, because I thought that you would feel that this was interesting today.
Well, I mean, absolutely. And as someone who's been to drug and alcohol treatment in the past, that was not culturally specific nor sensitive, the work of this historic legacy organization is of the utmost importance in this particular moment. We're at risk of, another lost generation. That early 80s, that mid 80s generation that so many were lost, whole families lost, whole neighborhoods. We're seeing that. I was on a metro transit train from the Mall of America to downtown Minneapolis one night, and I want to say it was about the 46th Street station, if that's the one I'm thinking of, 46 or so. And all of a sudden, the train was bum rushed with addicts, women were in complete fear. I mean, it was, if you were anyone less urban than me would have been, or less kind of aware was, you know, the streets would have been terrified. I can't even, the number of acts that just came onto the bus, the train, the car rather, was intense. And there were people then proceed to shoot up, freebase, smoke bubble, you name it, right there on the train in broad daylight. US Bank Stadium, holy moly. Central, the Central Stadium station here in downtown St. Paul, where I now live, crazy. Just ride public transit and it will be in your face at epidemic crisis levels.
Yes, I agree.
You know, one thing I would like to really address is number one, say, yeah, you know, what you see is what you get, and what's going on behind the scenes, you really kind of can't even imagine what it's like in the lives and in the homes of these people where what the real data would show. African American men are actually the highest rate of overdose declared this year, which is up from second behind white men last year. So, you know, this has the ability, what's going on here in Minnesota is going to be different plan than what's in another state. We have very high, we are all located in pretty much concentrated areas. And so that's even why when you go throughout the city, you're going to see this even a little bit more commonly. And I think that impacted by everything we've been through with the last 3 years with COVID, inequities, violence. We have to really look at this in terms of the community stress level and how we also pull about our approach to getting out of this. The scary thing about fentanyl is, number one, it's 10 times more potent as morphine. The amount that can kill you can fit on the tip of a sharpened pencil. Okay. And so we have to be cautious. We have to have a very well-developed cross-sectional approach, because this is not only just impacting those who are using.
That's right.
You can, you know, be wanting to clean up your neighborhood and pick up something to throw it away. And if you don't have gloves on, this fentanyl is so strong, it can absorb through your fingers. We also have different
As in a finger prick or something like that, or just touching something that's
just
on the
touching
outside?
it.
Really?
Just touching it. It can be absorbed straight through your fingers.
Mm.
So it's, you know, it's highly lethal. This situation is a little bit different as well than how you would deal with someone's chemical health treatment, and that there are high rates of what they called first-time incidences. So it might be someone who's smoking, you know, some marijuana and it's laced with fentanyl, or someone who happened to be experimenting and it's laced with fentanyl and they die immediately because of the amounts. So this is really something different that we really felt we needed to bring the community together to at least figure out a way to discuss and also to heal. I mean, even within this environment, so many people saying so much stuff. We got to heal. We got to talk about grief, and we got to talk about a plan to move forward together.
So let me ask you this, Angela. How many babies, because there's a lot of babies that's getting this stuff put in their milk, and I know that's not by accident. I mean, do you have any idea? I mean, because I know the statistics are a little high on babies getting a hold of fentanyl too.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard statistics in terms of babies getting it in their milk, so I would love to get some more data and information on that. That's new to me. I believe we learned through a collective, so I really do appreciate you sharing that. I do know that there is also some increase in incidence of people are getting it through breast milk.
Yes.
If they're breastfeeding. But it's also one of those things where, depending on what's going on, the dynamic of that family, the substance even might be hidden in that as they try, you know, to not get caught selling or how they're using it. And that impacted with, you know, increased employment, increased homelessness. You know, a lot of the substance use and distribution that we as a community get involved with is for survival. You know, the average drug dealer, even if they're doing it full time, is only making $24,000 a year, and that's survival mode. And so as a community, whether it's adopted as a, evidence-based practice, our practices in the community need to be flexible and understanding and address that. So
So,
education
Angela,
is the start. Mm-hmm.
Angela, I know that this first community meeting is a big part of this initiative that you are launching. But can you tell us what are some of the strategies that you have in place to reach out to families? Because again, what I'm seeing, and I think all of you are seeing, it's getting younger and younger and younger, and the
Yes.
drug use is getting harder and harder and harder. And so we're talking about families that maybe are dealing with uncontrollable children, maybe children raising children,
Right.
grandparents raising children, immigrant, newly arrived families in America who are unprepared culturally or even religiously for these streets. So can you kind of give us a brief overview of what kind of strategies you have to protect and assist our families?
Well, I would think that I'd say they're kind of multifaceted. One of the things we are currently involved with as a representative through the Minnesota Department of Health is what's called an overdose fatality review team. MDH is trying to figure out how to offer support to the community through data. So within that team, we will take opportunities to speak to family members to identify things that aren't typically mainstream and identified. We also are, we're very community based. We really like to highlight providers who have the skills necessary to work with youth directly. So we're always adding people to our partner network so we can filter people through if they can come in through our support services, whatever need they have. If we cannot meet it, we will find a community partner that's culturally specific or whatever they prefer to address that. So we share information, we do family support within our treatment, and we are looking into, developing other avenues with being able to reach youth. And it's also important to understand that the African-born population has this as a high issue in their population as well, but some of the risk determinants are different. So we really have to support each other. Mm-hmm. When it comes with youth, one of the things that we would like to really promote is definitely more awareness, more education, more prevention in the schools, and really whatever plan we come up with, which we will hopefully be talking about that sometime soon, the idea of a community cooperative collective as we move forward with some of these procedures, is that it has to be mainstream, it has to be normalized, it has to be with people who are in addiction, people who are not in addiction, ones who are driving down the street. That's why one thing we recommend and are doing a massive Narcan training is to just carry it in your car.
Yes.
One thing I say to people that helped me, because when I first got involved with it, I was like, no. But the one thing about Narcan is that if a person is overdosing and it's not on an opioid, the Narcan will not cause harm.
That's right.
So if you have to give it to someone because you think that's what's going on, you're covered by the law. Mm-hmm. But it literally could save people's lives, and it's the really only thing out there that can literally pull someone out of an overdose immediately. I've had to Narcan someone unexpectedly before.
So you're saying, Angela, that the practice in the community may have to come to where ordinary citizens have access to and have possession of the Narcan and are trained to intervene?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. One of the strategies. There's many.
Yeah. What happened when you had to do it? What was the stories?
Well, we do HIV testing here at Turning Point. So, and we do condom distribution and access to information, open door. So we had someone who came in to do testing, and she went in the bathroom and used someone, because we're all trained to kind of keep our eyes open. Mm-hmm. And when she didn't respond right away, they asked that we go knock and open the door, and she was in there overdosed. Mm. So I asked, bring me the Narcan really quick. I ended up actually having to give her 2 doses. Mm-hmm. You kind of wait a couple minutes because it's not right away, and then just all of a sudden you kind of pop back out of it. She woke up, she was in tears. And then you immediately call the police so that they can be taken to the hospital if there's any additional care that they need. But I mean, it took me a couple of days to calm down. The adrenaline that kind of comes over you here, but you kind of go with what you know. But it definitely made me a fan of Narcan. I'll tell you that 100%.
Is there a window that, of time when you maybe come across someone? Is there a window of opportunity to save their life?
I'd say 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. And you may have to administer more than one Narcan treatment, 2 or 3, depends on their usage, their high tolerance for the drug that they're using. But yeah, and that opportunity to get them to the hospital so that they can receive some referrals for, may it be for outpatient treatment, inpatient treatment, if they want to receive that.
And one thing that's...
You had a question, Brenda?
I just wanted to say that this is a lot more serious than even we're discussing.
Yes, indeed.
I saw a program, I think it might have been Dr. Phil, where the psychologist, Dr. Lahr, had lost her 17-year-old son. He was up in his bedroom. They thought he was doing homework, and within 5 minutes, he was gone. But what I wanted to say that the statistics that came out of this program is that America has confiscated enough fentanyl to kill every American in the country.
What do you mean by that? It's confiscated, you're saying?
Yeah, they are catching them on ships,
Okay.
Every transportation, and the cartel is involved.
Oh, yes.
With China, and they have come up with a mechanism of putting in fentanyl in pills. And they are buying the pills through social media.
Yeah.
So now it's just like multiplying and multiplying quickly. And you're right, they're younger. Overdose of 11 and 12 years old, where parents have no idea that they just popped a pill and they find them face down on their bed. They're gone.
Yeah. And that's why we want to have this town hall. That's why we want to have this town hall, so our parents and neighbors and community can recognize. If we pay attention to our youth, we can see the signs and the symptoms of they're experimenting. And when I started experimenting with marijuana, I was 13. And, sometimes that marijuana is the gateway drug. Sometimes cigarettes are a gateway to experimenting with other drugs. And so we've experienced, a couple of our male clients who graduated from our program, went to another program, Transition for Living, and overdosed, and families were just devastated. And we connected with families and referred them to counseling, referred them to other resources. And that's some of the stuff that we do as far as our support services. We know families are devastated. We know families are going to need some counseling, some grief counseling, somewhere where they can have a safe space to grieve. And so that's some of the things that Turning Point does also, is we make referrals for counseling, for therapists, and let's face it, we don't have enough people of color as far as therapists in Minnesota. We're working to get more people of color to be able to connect with our community. And it's just really, it's a crisis. It's a crisis, and we have to pay more attention, close attention to our youth, and help them to understand that they're valued and we care about them, and we don't want them to fall through the cracks of the addiction system.
Well, let me ask you all to talk about resources needed, resources available. Angela and Patricia in particular, does the society, are we voters and taxpayers and residents, taking on our responsibility to provide proper resources for this work. I'm talking about funding. Is there a challenge in getting the money needed to provide services equal to the presence and the increase of the problem? Because you're talking about an explosive problem.
I'll let Angela talk more about that.
I know the amount of money that's getting put into the community is substantial, but it is kind of merged in together with the overall state approach. Mm-hmm. And there are certain little ins and outs of treating people in our community that are not necessarily defined as an evidence-based practice that can be a make or break moment. Mm-hmm. Right now, most of the plans that come out are for treatment. Some are for recovery support, but we really need kind of two plans, short-term and long-term.
Yeah.
We also need to have a lot of flexibility with the funds that are received to be able to create the programs that people need. Sometimes people need to just learn about emotional intelligence and regulation. Mm-hmm. Some need, anger management. Some need, more food the second to last week of the month. It's so much more individualized that it's hard to really kind of keep up with the momentum of things. And I think the state in general probably needs more support to widen our pool. Mm-hmm. One thing that we do definitely need, though, is more providers of color and chemical health.
Yes.
Yep.
And really understanding more about what recovery is, that there is a recovery community that's needed. There is a recovery lifestyle. Turning Point will be there for you when you're ready to quit, but they need to understand that also have a support when they're not ready to quit.
Yes.
If sometimes it takes a couple months to get to where, you need to be, and that there's support out here to do that. And you don't have to be a chemical health provider to support that. Sometimes you just need to be the person that listens and understands what the problem and concern is. But if we don't get out the shame and get people to revealing that they need help or that they're experimenting, anybody, that we're going to be in a different sort of situation, especially with it impacting youth. And it is it's a market that creates a lot of money.
Yep. That's right. It's also connected to
Teqen, I often use this term about, I call it creating a public mind. Part of the challenge is, and that's where I want to raise the question about the availability and the deployment of resources. Part of the challenge is what the expectations are in the public at large, and in our public in particular. And if there is an attitude of permissiveness, or an attitude of inevitability, or an attitude of cultural, intellectual deficit that is part of our definition of who we are, then it seems to me, as a society, as a community, as a culture, as an ethnicity, we have surrendered to the thought that what is befalling us is inevitable and cannot be stopped. And I think that's dangerous. And my question is, what is our strategy for combating that kind of acquiescence to or surrender to somebody else's idea that it's okay for our community to languish in this dependency because it's a market? You use the word market. How do we avoid ourselves being a market for somebody else who benefits from keeping us anesthetized and buying and keeping us from our productive capability, our resilience, our healing, and our health? What do you think?
That's good. Your first guests were the school board,
Mhm.
and that's, I think, one of the things that we do have to do. We have to get out and vote and be present in our school system, because our young people need us to be there, to show up. And then secondly, I do believe is that we need to bring the treatment model into uh, our schools and share, about the epidemic as far as the fentanyl and overdosing, and help our children understand that they are they're valuable. And we got a lot of young adults, young kids, adolescent kids, eighth graders, seventh graders that are experimenting with drugs right now. Parents might not know anything about it, but I'm a firm believer if we get into the schools and we share about drug usage, drug experimentation, and get the parents involved also. And if they are struggling with drug abuse and addiction, we get them plugged into resources and services also, because the families, if we're not dealing with the families as a whole, we can't target one and not target the other. And I know Angela can really agree with that.
Well, Angela, go ahead and expound on that because I'm still stuck on what you said earlier about going towards where uh, everybody, ordinary people,
Yeah.
have to get the training and maybe have access. So I'm moving out of being shocked at that statement because I was shocked when you said it. I'm moving towards, is this an opportunity? You know,
It definitely is.
what would be the value of having a campaign to reach every house, every neighborhood, ours in particular, everybody in 55411, 55412 get specific training and get the distribution so that in every household somebody has training. The whole house has training about the danger of the chemical consumption and the ways that you can get it and ways it can kill you. But then you have people in every household specifically trained to respond to emergencies as they occur. And I'm thinking, that's not a far-fetched idea. It's a question of will and resources. And what came to mind is that one of my daughters told me that because of her, I forgot what it was, but she used an EpiPen. She was adult, maybe, and married, and wherever she was living, whatever it was that was a danger, it could have been allergy or something, but a severe allergic reaction. She had to be aware of it, and that she had learned how to use an EpiPen. I didn't know what an EpiPen was.
Yeah.
An EpiPen is something like a Narcan, right? Response to a crisis. And so what if we could take this urgency to thousands of families, even those that won't likely be impacted or affected by usage, but everybody is affected by driving down the street and seeing somebody on the street whose life you could maybe save. What do you think, Angela?
I definitely think that is part of the approach that we're really trying to build, and one of the main reasons why we want to do this town hall. I think it's important for us to understand that whatever approach we develop, there needs to be multiple pillars.
Yeah.
So you'll have the support that you need to give to larger agency, state agency, federal agency, and really understanding how that system trickles down within itself, and that there's just certain guidelines that you have to, work within. Another section would be how we interact within cross sectors, how chemical health can work with unemployment, can work with MFib, can work with schools, and really base that mostly on how you have the highest reach of people. Also, how we have an individual resource stream. What can I can do? What can you possibly do? And we have some partners there that's why we are doing an actual Narcan training. You can take packs of Narcan home. Steve Rummer, Hope Network, also has a QR code where it can just be scanned by your phone and it'll open up a Narcan training right away. And then also we have to have a community collective that kind of monitors this and has access for us to make changes in real time. What is projected, and most, most grant funding cycles, are year, 2 year, mostly 3. But the one thing about this epidemic is that it can change from quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
We have to look at where the fentanyl is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the outcomes that we're trying to set the foundation of. Research takes a while with the overdose fatality review team. Part of the overdose fatality review team is we put forward recommendations and support and implementation that is based off of culture specific. Now, we are the second culture specific OFR team in the country. So it's new, it's foundational. We really had to take some time to bring about our rationale for how a more customized approach is going to produce some of the outcomes that we needed. And some of the strategies needed to really kind of be collective, but that's the foundation and what we're actually trying to do to see where we can be in the next couple of years. Because like we say, this is not like any other epidemic or pandemic or whatever, endemics we've been through, because the result is death. And that, puts a large bin on things.
I mean, quick. 5 to 7 minutes and you're gone.
Yeah.
Al, I remember when we were in elementary school, they came in and brought a picture of a liver and showed us. And I mean, we're old now, but we don't remember. I mean, we don't forget those teachers. And this was a huge chart about what alcohol did to the liver. And then down the road, the type of ailments that we could have that started out with the drinking at 10, 11 years old, some kids. So education is going to be the key. And getting into those schools and people being willing to be courageous to tell the truth.
Yes.
Yes.
Epidemic, crisis, you can call it whatever.
What you want. Yeah.
And it's just not Black kids.
That's
No.
right.
It's not.
A lot of rich whites are seeing it. And the heroin epidemic was the same thing.
Yes.
The AIDS epidemic was the same thing. It wasn't until whites and senators and House representatives started getting lesions, then all of a sudden they said, epidemic, we've got to do something.
That's right.
That leads back to the point that I make, Brenda, all the time, and that is too often in our society, when it comes to problem solving, we get the misery and they get the money.
Yeah.
They end up making money off of our misery, and you could almost be cynical and say there's no incentive to solve the problem because the problem itself is a cash cow. And so white people through institutions line up around and through our community, and their motive might be to medicate or to respond, but not to heal. And the difference is that we have to, from within the community and within the culture, have the objective of healing, of restoration, right? And of prevention and of mitigating as well. That's valuable, but that is all business. It's all revenue generating, as you mentioned, Angela. And so I think that from a political and cultural point of view, I take this back to my grandmother in Kansas City. She says, mind your business. But when she said that, that's not just mind your business, grandson. It's it's the maxim. It's the double entendre that makes all the difference in the world. And in this case, our health, Angela, is our business. Our health, Patricia, is our business. We have to mind our business. And minding our business means taking control and demanding the resources, access to the things we need, effect to bring forward the solution, to say that we are the solution and you cannot pigeonhole us to the problem side of this equation. That we're the owners of the solution side as well. And as such, we have to, and we demand resources to do the work that we must do. for our community. So that's my take on this. Listen, we're out of time.
Oh no.
This is a wonderful conversation. Got a minute.
Wednesday, come on out.
Can I leave with 2 statements that came to mind?
We got time to wrap it up again, and I want
Just 2 sentences.
Patricia and Angela to remind people and invite people, and let's set up what else we need to do going forward. This is not a one-time deal.
That's
So
right.
Just we want to elevate the partnership between Turning Point and the Conversation and Insight News, because we're in this together. And with the North Side Coalition, with Hawthorne, we're all in this together.
That's right.
And
So
one of the
Patricia and Angela,
finest
close out.
leaders in the country with Dr. Peter Hayden, one of the finest. And he needs resources and support. It's great.
2 things I want you to keep on your mind is returning to our traditional greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't do anything, just show some passion and love and let people who you know who are active in things that you probably understand a little bit more about why, and that they feel extra pressure in the community and barriers that, they're not mistaken.
That's right.
What we know, give them some comfort and some love, and then wheel them on in.
All about love.
That's right. We just want to invite you out this Wednesday, August 10th, at the Capri Theater, Broadway, 2027 Broadway, and it's 1 to 3:30 p.m. If you can't join in person, tap on the live stream link and it'll bring you right in. Hope to see you there.
Thank you so very much. Let me say that Patricia told me before we went on camera that she and I share a birthday, September 15th, and that's cool. And so we have to have a conversation on September 15th, Patricia.
That's right.
Talk about
and my son is September 16th.
There we go.
Great days. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
It's so good hearing that great voice.
We'll see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And all the wisdom, too.
Thank you.